American-made knives are some of my favorite knives that money can buy. However, there's a bit of an issue. I am also a gigantic fan of titanium. And when it comes to American-made knives, that either means that you are spending a lot of money or you are getting something made with aluminum handle scales.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
Now, don't get me wrong, aluminum handle scales are fine. Aluminum is a very fine material. However, it is not as good as titanium. And today we have in our hands titanium handle scales for one of my favorite American-made knives released in the last couple of years. Let's go ahead and talk about the Lex Custom titanium scales for the Microtech Stitch. Let's go. You might be wondering, Rollshambo, why the Microtech Stitch? Why is the Microtech Stitch one of your favorite knives? Honestly, it is a big, beefy, overbuilt, American-made folder. It has Microtech's quality signature stamp on it, and I love the little details, things like the birth date on the pocket clip. I love the aggressive look of that arrowhead style blade that looks kind of like a hunting broadhead. I love the fact that you get an oversized forward finger choil with subtle jimping so that you can adequately place your thumb and index finger parallel to each other for the perfect controlled grip. I love that in a reverse grip it works really well. I love the ergonomics, and I also am a big fan of the ram lock. However, I've been waiting for the last couple of years for new titanium scales to be released on the aftermarket because I had a feeling that I wasn't the only one that loved this knife, which meant that there would of course be some aftermarket options coming to market. And sure enough, there were. However, the first option comes from Original Goat, and I'm going to be honest with you, those scales look gorgeous, but they are over $200 for the scales alone. With the Microtech Stitch coming in close to $300, that would put your total purchase price somewhere in the realm of about $500. So like many people, I passed and I waited and I waited and I hoped beyond hope that there would be another good option out there. And then I was contacted by Lex Custom International. Lex Custom International is a company that makes aftermarket handle scales and also does Cerakote work for a lot of different knives. And they are not based in China. No, they are based in Sweden. But enough talk, let's go ahead and install these absolutely killer scales from Lex Custom. To do this installation, you're going to need a Torx 20-bit for the pivot and a Torx T8-bit for the body screws. And installation is not necessarily all that difficult. In fact, I went ahead and recorded a bit of me disassembling and installing these scales on this knife. And in case you're not necessarily interested in watching the full thing, you can of course skip ahead to the end of the installation, which will pop up on the timestamp there. And there it is, guys. And a big shout out and thank you to Lex Custom for sending these my way, because otherwise I would not have experienced these. I'm truly blown away by the transformation that's taken place, and these scales have reignited my love for a knife that I refused to take out of my collection. I've done so many knife sales, and the Microtech Stitch has been one that I've left alone. It did not make its way into a knife sale because every time I look at this knife, I absolutely love the blade shape. I love the Borka design. This broadhead hunting style blade shape is beautiful to me, and it's one of those iconic knives by default. Microtech has sold so many stitches that it would blow your mind apart if you knew the real number, but what really impresses me the most is the price point and the quality. You see this? These are contoured titanium scales. Contoured titanium scales are not cheap no matter where they're made, especially when they're made in a country like Sweden or the United States or anywhere. These are extremely high quality. The edge work being done here on these handle scales is nothing short of impressive, and I really think that the bead blasted polished finish works very well with the stock backspacer. Initially, when these came in, I thought, I wonder if I should maybe look into some aftermarket backspacer options, but no, I don't really see a need to because it matches aesthetically perfectly. I was also kind of shocked and surprised at how easy it was to take this knife apart. If you are someone that is putting aftermarket scales on your Microtech Stitch, just understand that when it comes to taking it apart, one side will unscrew and the other side will not. And the other side is not one that I would mess with. I would leave it alone. Even if you can heat up the other screw and get it to eventually make its way out of the pivot, one side will in fact come loose. And just unscrew and undo the knife from that side, and that will be the best bet. We've got T20 Torx on the pivot and T8 on the body screws, and everything matches flawlessly. Now, if you're someone that doesn't like this really cool bead blasted finish, the good news is that Lex Custom actually has several different Cerakote options. They claim to be the industry leader when it comes to applying Cerakote. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't experienced any of their Cerakoted scales, but they do have those options available on their Etsy store, and I will in fact link to that down in the description down below. That will not be an affiliate link, but this is impressive, guys. The other option out there for Microtech Stitch scales is Original Goat, and Original Goat does great work, but those scales cost $250, $275, and these cost, by contrast, $125. That is ridiculous. It's so good. It's so good. It feels better in the hand. Does it add weight? Yeah, it adds a little bit of weight, but this isn't a knife that the faint of heart would carry to begin with. And I feel like this is the Microtech Stitch coming into its own. It took for different aftermarket scale makers to come out with titanium versions of the scale, but now that they have, I can definitely say without a shadow of a doubt that if you love the Microtech Stitch, even if you like the aluminum handle scales, which by the way I do, these stock scales are great. For as far as aluminum is concerned, these are great. They help keep the weight down. They're nice. They're fluted. They're milled. They feel quality. But I'm going to be 100% honest with you. They do not hold a candle to these aftermarket scales at all. I am really in love with what changing the handle scales to titanium does for this knife. And okay, Rollshambo, but when you come in with aftermarket parts, you run the risk of something not fitting correctly or having some issues. So let's go over it. Lockup and lockout is perfect. That blade is not having any wiggle or jiggle. It's locked up and locked out. Action feels good. In fact, I might actually say that action feels better. I don't know if that is just a result of me taking the knife apart and cleaning it, or a result of some effect that these scales have, but it feels better than it did before. The contouring feels great in hand. Even with the stock clip on there, there's absolutely no issue whatsoever. What about blade centering? Blade centering on here is perfect. The amount of precision that it takes to make aftermarket scales for a knife like this and not screw something up is impressive, and it's definitely noteworthy, and especially at that $125 price point, it is really a good option. I, for one, am just glad that now we're starting to see aftermarket options for knives like this Microtech Stitch. And it's not just the Stitch that Lex Custom does scales for. They also do it for the MSI. They also do it for some benchmades. And I'm really excited to see what they come out with next, because I would love to see this trend continue. I was unsure about how I'd feel about Swedish-made scales on my American-made knife, but after having this in hand, I gotta say, I have absolutely no regrets at all. And I also like knowing that I have something that's a little bit different than everybody that went out and bought the original goat scales. I'm ultimately really curious. What do you think of these Lex Custom Microtech Stitch scales? Are you thinking about getting yourself a set? Shoot, for $125? Why not? This is a perfect upgrade to an already excellent knife, and if you're someone that owns a Stitch, I would 100% say that I would highly recommend it. I think that this is easily the best value out there for aftermarket scales, and I would love to see what your guys' thoughts are in the comment section down below. But if you watched the video and you liked it, make sure to smash that like button. Guys, if you watched this far and you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to click on the subscribe button that's about to pop up in the corner. But if you just want to watch some more awesome knife and EDC content, feel free to click on one of the videos that pops up next.